The Word was with God is a phrase from the Bible, John 1:1. The full verse reads, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." But what is a word? A word is a form of communication. It is considered the logos, or a persuasive device that uses logic and evidence to support a claim, or a thought, a principle, or a speech. A word could be considered ideas, or a sound, or a language, a form of communication. So if a word is information, then it's energy. And if it's energy, it has mass, and it has the ability to be distinguished. So the word is a shape. It's a sound, it's a vibration, it's a communication. It's a harmonic of the cosmic radiance. And it flows within each and every one of us at all times. But are we listening? Are we aware of what it's saying within us? To know the universe is to feel it and sense it, to allow the communication or the word to manifest as our sight. Mandalas and cymatic as our hearing, a song, a harmony, smells, and tastes. The mind is an artist. It is the canvas and the paint. It is all of the elements, the air, the wind, the breath, which holds the melody of a song, a forever song of creation. It is a million taste buds formed by a thought. It's the chemicals in the food which give an aromatic sense and a sensual flavor on the tongue. It's the substance that is fractalized into a pattern, into the visible, but which begins as a communication from within. Are you listening? Can you feel it? The purpose of communication is to invite others into our individual world. If we can frame our world in terms of a hologram, perhaps, or a system, or an organization, or a room, or various rooms, then we can kind of start to see the picture of what I'm saying. Anytime we speak, we are sending out a vibration and a wave and a message. The words we use, the inflections, the tones, the feeling behind the words even, are communicating, hey, you, receiver, enter my world, enter my bubble. And sometimes we'll hear someone speak and immediately click off their video. Or we'll hear someone speak and we'll immediately turn in their direction at the store or at the park or at a mall or in the forest or wherever. So this communication can cross species as well, such that we learn the language of every other being. And in learning their language, we enter their bubble of reality. So much as like you can hear your pets or your dog bark in a certain way and you automatically enter their world and you know in your mind what's going on with that dog because of the tone, because of the distress level, or because of the anger or frustration or hunger, you can hear it and feel it too, especially when you spend more time in communication with that being. So when we communicate with each other, this is purposeful. It is meant to bring us into each other's world to build the collective bubble. All of our realms can coalesce and overlap, but our own individual world never changes. It's always our design. And so when we start to look at symbols in the reality, squares, triangles, spirals, hexagons, and more. These are ancient communication tools which signal something within us that we've experienced before. It opens us up in some ways that we cannot fully describe with mere English language, because it's another language. So when you spend time dissecting the different symbols, or just focusing on even one of these symbols, a hexagram, just look at a hexagram. If you're looking at it long enough, you'll see it's a cube. You can rearrange it in your mind and it unfolds into a cross. You can even unfold it further and make it into a swastika. It's just explaining something to you without using clumsy words. And so I'm saying all of that to say this is the basis of how our reality is structured. The reality is structured based on symbolism, based on shapes, color, sound, optics, basically, and how it translates within us, utilizing our brain, our mind, our emotions, our hormonal system, our nervous system. So getting really quiet then and still and sitting in your own bubble alone becomes like a word magic, because you start to be able to isolate the meanings of things as it resonates within you, and not necessarily with the influence of other people's bubble or other people's point of view. And so then when you do that, you will begin to unlock and unleash the messages which have been coming to you over your whole lifetime, perhaps all of your lifetimes. And you'll hear the sounds in a different way. You'll feel the world around you in a different way. You'll start to see the screens of reality. And then as you enter a room, you'll realize that room is rendered from within. Meaning, if you are in your bedroom and you shut your eyes for a good enough amount of time, and you get as still and quiet as possible for a good enough time, you block off your senses. Maybe you have blackout curtains, or you have an eye shield, earplugs, and you lay flat on a soft surface, something comfortable that's not causing pain at any of your joint points, nothing to distract you. When you finally come out of that, even if you don't go anywhere, like you don't go through the tunnels and you don't go into your own introspection, but once you just sit in the blackness, the void of self, just sitting there physically only, then when you do open your eyes, you realize the static nature of the reality, and you'll see the like the fuzziness of the screen pop open, and you'll realize, okay, I'm sitting in a square box. This room is rectangular shape or square box shape. Most of us aren't in a dome room. Most of us don't have abstract architecture around us. We're mostly in square structures. That'll automatically load a program. it'll automatically signal us to the square, to the cube, to the hexagon of the reality program. But what we can do, instead of just accepting the program, we can notice the room. We can notice the shape of the room, the light, the shadows of everything. And we can ask ourselves, how did this get here? What is it really? And then as we exit the room, we cross a threshold to go into the next room, rendering at that moment that room to existence. Whereby right now, sitting in this room, that one doesn't exist. It hasn't communicated to us that it's there. Our mind will picture it because we know what we expect to see in the next room. So we are programming or projecting that room to be there. We're communicating that symbol or that structure. And so then when we enter that room, the room we've exited is no longer rendered, but we keep a memory of it. So these are why some people practice trying to remember as many objects that they can in a room, and then seeing if they can keep it, save it, to just play with the reality. Because the reality is communicating to us, and we're communicating with it because it is us. And so I'm saying all that to say, let's have fun with it. If we know that we are projecting the reality and that every symbol that we see is communicating with us and we're communicating with it, it is because it is something that we're putting here. And then we can play around with our own private environment and spend more time alone in joy of, okay, look at my room. What have I put in this room? Why is there so many books in here? How did I accomplish that? And where did it actually come from? Is it actually real? Are there actually words on these pages? Is the program using bandwidth to put words in all these books, or do the words appear as I open the book? Because you notice, if you go to pick up a book on your bookshelf, sometimes you'll flip a page and it'll open up exactly to what you were thinking or what you needed to see. And that is communication. This place is super magical and it's super amazing. And sometimes we can use common sense and simplified ideas to practice unraveling it and the meanings of things. But other times, we enter the world that can shift our entire life in a direction which is anti to our path. Meaning, going down the path of secret societies or religious figures or the world stage by watching the news or consuming too much information about the external world, then you're being drawn into someone else's build. You're listening too much. And when we're drawn into, say, cataclysm or chaos, such as what's going on in California, what's going on in New York, what happened in New Orleans, what happened in Hawaii, what we see in the political arena and stage, etc., the fog, so much more. Those bubbles of reality have now coalesced with our own bubble, with our own world, with our own room. So now that we have that awareness, it is influencing our decisions. This is how the world works, and this is how the manipulation goes. the TV, movies, YouTube, any data point, any magazine, any agenda, or any communication tool can be used for propaganda. And propaganda works by getting into your own consciousness. It gets into your subconscious. And then from there, it's triggering certain symbols or certain events or certain fears, such as fire. Fire is strong. It's a strong force. But if you see it consuming or eating up a whole state or a city or several cities, houses, and you see the destruction, the smoke, and you see it's red, hot, blaze, there's a trigger for fear because of dragons and other lore that we've witnessed in other times from movies and magazines and just other lives perhaps. But what we could do is we could look at these other worlds as other worlds, okay? Put that in a bubble of its own and keep it out of your bubble. Don't let it overlay you. Be aware of it and also tap into the power of it in a balanced way. So that when we look at, say, the fires, let's just keep it there. We can look at it twofold. Yes, it is destructive. But what is fire also? It's cleansing, right? It's a rebirth. It's a renewal. And so the symbol needs to be adjusted within your own reception of seeing it. That's proper communication. Because it's here for a reason. And just like the winds, they're strong. The Santa Ana winds, that's a power. These forces are communicating with you. And the hurricanes, all the water, and then the mudslides, the earth, listen to the forces and see what they're saying to you. Because this is a collective chaos. We've all participated in what's happening now and what's coming. And the best thing we can do is sit alone and realize the symbolism of the world, the positives, the challenges, or the positive negatives, the yin and yang of all the forces that we're seeing, and how do we resonate that within us, and how do we also generate that as from our projection? How are we participating in the world stage from within us by reacting to what's being shown to us? We're being shown that there's a blazing fire that cannot be controlled. That's being shown to us that all these strong governments cannot control this fire. But yet we've seen how the hurricanes and other water systems have been directed to certain areas. So we're being shown something external to us as having more power than us. But imagine if we were to look within ourselves and notice these symbols as belonging to us, as we being water, fire, earth, wind, ether, then we can move it around ourselves as a collective where we want it to go. So can you connect? Can you communicate with the elementals? Can you feel the water, the wind, the earth, the fire, and the ether, and the unknown substances which control our reality? If we can connect and communicate, we can do a lot more within our own world, which can affect the collective world. And that's a paradigm changing idea. This world still holds secrets for us. There is an artificial communication happening, but there's something far more intuitive we can pick up about our true home. So connect.